Madam President, I want to just spend a few minutes today saying goodbye to a friend. Louisiana weeps right now. Governor Charles E. Roemer III passed away last week. He went by Buddy. He served for our state from 1988 to 1992. Before that, he served a number of terms in Congress. I guess, Madam President, I'm biased because Buddy brought me to the dance, if you will. I was sitting in my office in New Orleans practicing law, earning a good living, thinking about happy hour on a Friday afternoon. And Governor Roemer had just been elected, and he asked me to come up to Baton Rouge and work as his legal counsel, and I did, and I stayed for 4 years. And I like government service, and I've been in it off and on since then. Buddy was extremely, I say was, I'm going to say is, because he lives with us. But he was one of the most, and he is one of the most complex, interesting people I've ever met. He was immeasurably talented. He was raised on a cotton farm. It wasn't really a farm because his parents and his family, they were all so accomplished. They put together a cotton farm with their own sweat and blood and some free enterprise capital of about 10,000 acres in North Louisiana. That's a big farm in Louisiana. But the kids all worked, including Buddy. They didn't have a television. Mr. Budgie, his dad, and Miss Adeline, his mom, would require the kids in their free time to read books. And boy, it stuck with Buddy. I never saw him without a book. I'd ride with him to go to a speech. He'd have a book in the car, and he'd read it, driving over there. He went to Harvard when he was 16. He would have gone sooner. Harvard offered him a position. But his mom and dad said, "You're too young. You gotta stick around." And he stayed at Harvard for graduate school. Buddy was, how can I put this? Buddy was one of the first real intellectual governors that we ever had in Louisiana. I'm not putting down our other governors. I'm not, because all of our governors have been intelligent, just like in your state. You don't rise to that position without being intelligent. But Buddy truly believed in the power of ideas. And he truly believed in the worth of education. I've used his words often. He used to say, "Kennedy, the future in Louisiana is education. It's not the price of oil. It's not the unemployment rate. It's not who the governor is. It's education." And he'd say that time and time again. During his 4 years, when he became governor, we had a $7 billion budget. We had a $1 billion deficit. That's what he was left with. Roemer balanced the budget. Wasn't easy, but he did. And then he implemented fiscal reforms that dramatically, totally changed our way of budgeting in Louisiana for generations to come because of Buddy's efforts. He announced in Louisiana, and this was heresy at the time, "I'm going to find out which of our teachers can teach, and by God, I'm going to pay them." And he said, "But I'm also going to find out which of our teachers can't teach, and I'm going to either teach them how or tell them to find a new line of work." Boy, was that revolutionary. And he did it. He totally rewrote our campaign finance laws. When Buddy became governor, there was no reporting of campaign money. Somebody, if you're running for office, somebody could bring you a suitcase full of cash, $200,000, and it was perfectly legal. You didn't have to report it. And if you got the money on a Thursday, if you decided on a Friday you weren't going to run, you withdrew from the race, you could keep it. You could keep it. But he completely rewrote all of that. Now you have to report every penny in, every penny out. There's a cap on contributions, no cash, and we enforce it. It changed our politics dramatically. I'll tell you one quick story that epitomizes the buddy I knew. There was a central piece of his education program. I won't bore you with the details. It had to do with higher education. And it was key to our future. And we really needed to pass it. And I was handling it, lobbying it for the governor. And we needed one more vote in the Senate, one more vote to pass this landmark bill. And this one senator, he said, Kennedy, I'll vote for it if you'll have the governor give me this project. So I was all excited. I went back to see the governor. I said, Governor, I think I got it put together. It was a road project. He said, call over to our Department of Transportation and see what they think. And the folks at the Department of Transportation said, yes, we can do it, but if we do it, we'll all go to jail. So I said, oh, man. So I go back and I tell Governor Roemer, and I was young, but I was passionate. And I said, Governor, we can't do it. And he said, I agree. We're not going to do that. I said, but listen, this is so important. This particular senator lies to us all the time. Let me just lie to him. Let me just go to him and tell him we'll do it. We'll get his vote. And then I'll go back to him later and say we changed our mind. The end does justify the means. I'll never forget. But he says, no, we're not doing that. And I argued with him, but he just said, look, Kennedy, I made my decision. We're not doing it that way. I'm going to really miss Buddy. He wasn't a perfect guy. I told him one time, I said, Governor, if I were back in law practice in the private sector and you came to me as a private client, I'd represent you, but I would quadruple my hourly rate. He was so smart, but he could be very opinionated. Tip O'Neill gave Buddy his slogan phrase. Tip O'Neill described then Congressman Roemer one time. He said, Congressman Roemer, often wrong, never in doubt. But I'm going to really miss Buddy. All he ever wanted to do was change Louisiana. And he did. He wasn't reelected, but he did. But Buddy always understood this was his barometer of success. He used to tell me, he'd say, Kennedy, here's how you know when you're doing a good job. If you're making the right people mad. He used to say, if nobody's mad at you, and if the right people like the wrong people like what you're doing, you're not doing your job. So he did make people mad, and it cost him his reelection. But he changed Louisiana, and Louisiana weeps. And when I count my blessings, I count Buddy Roemer twice. Thank you, Madam Chair.